All right, everybody, the Hotspot returns live. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook Live, and of course, we are on KUM TV8. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Salas. We are going to go to the KUM News Zoom room for our next interview because a son of Guam, someone who was Talampago born and raised, lived up in Jigo for a while, so he's been all over the island. A friend of mine ever since high school, and I remember him for our junior ROTC days, still wears the uniform today, but has undertaken a much, much more important mission, obviously. This is Sergeant Major Ron Brantley, who is now teaching at the Sergeant Major's Academy, a very, very responsible position to be sure, but the 671 is well represented out at the Academy. So let's go to the Zoom room right now. And of course, he's being joined by our dear friend, retired Captain Mark Scott. So let's bring them in, and we welcome the two gentlemen to the Hotspot. Boys, Hafide, Sergeant Major, always good to see you.
It's great to see you, Jason. Hey, how you doing, sir?
Can you still call him sir, even though he's retired? Mark, I was going to say, you got that neck beard going on, which I believe is allowed by regulation, right?
Well, now that I'm a civilian, Jason, as long as it's professional and as long as my wife likes it, I think I'm okay.
There you go. Hey, you can dye your hair pink, like perhaps if the spirit moves you, but
I don't know. Sergeant Major Ron Brantley might come down on me a little too hard for that.
Yeah. You don't want to piss off a Sergeant Major. This I know, and of course, Ron Brantley, one of our finest here. Sergeant Major, you've been now enlisted for almost 3 entire decades, pretty much right out of high school and everything. But this position that you now have, where you're teaching at the Sergeant Major's Academy, what brought you to this point?
Wow. Well, the position in itself, I call it, coming up from humble beginnings. We didn't have much back in those days. So this is a gift, actually. This position, this opportunity for me is a gift. And it was afforded to me by an application. I went out there, saw an application they were looking for fellows, for instructors to come out for the Sergeant Major's Academy. They only picked 30 a year. So I put in my application, was blessed off by the leadership of the Guam Guard, and made my way out here. Competed against everybody from across the nation, and active duty, reservists, and National Guardsmen. And it was narrowed down to the 30 of us for cohort 7. And from there, we got on, completed our master's degrees from either Penn State. There was 15 of us that went to Penn State. 15 of us went to Syracuse. We graduated officially in August, and now are on the podium teaching class 73 of the resident course here at the Sergeant Major's Academy.
Very, very well done, Sergeant Major. So what type of skills are you actually honing in, these, are they current Sergeant Majors that you're looking to like skill up and like expand their leadership ability? Because, I mean, you're talking about, the highest ranking non-commissioned officers, in the Army. So you're building, men and women who will instill in the troops, the esprit de corps, make sure that they're highly motivated, very aware, very informed. And I mean, you're building, leaders at the highest level.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. So the current attendees right now in class 73 are all master sergeants. And we have master sergeants from the active duty Army, the reserves, the National Guard. We also have E8s from the Air Force and the Marine Corps, and we have a Coast Guardsman who are attending class 73. And the Sergeant Major's Academy or NCO education operates off 3 pillars. The first pillar, of course, is institutional training. So institutional training, which is your professional military education. Then we look at, to develop this NCO, we look at operational assignments. In other words, going out there into the operational force and getting the tough jobs, doing those jobs. And the third pillar of this is self-development. So within the academy in itself, we kind of focus on 2 of those pillars. The first one, of course, is institutional training and the self-development side of it. And we try to prepare these master sergeants to become, of course, E9s. And that was the whole point and the nexus of why we send these 30 cohorts to the fellowship, so that we come back with master's degrees, so that we don't just stand up there and say, oh, because I was an E9, because I was a sergeant major, you have to listen to me. What I'm telling you is right. We back that with actual education, a master's degree from an accredited university.
So it's not about having the most stripes and the diamond in between the stripes and being able to kick the most butt. It's about actually being able to breed a tradition of leaders. And I didn't realize, Sergeant Major, that it's actually a multi-branch program. So you're actually not only dealing with master sergeants in the U.S. Army, you're also dealing with like senior chiefs in Navy, as you said. So does that kind of does that networking ability and kind of seeing, not only the similarities between the different branches, but also, some of the differences, how does that kind of factor into the whole educational experience?
And it's great that you mentioned that, because within the classroom, gone out of the days of where, teachers up front, students are sitting down and all you do is just, teach whatever's on the board behind you, or hand out some paperwork and says, okay, complete this. It's more of networking now. And we want to just engage these future sergeant majors of not what to think, but how to think, right? We want you to be out there and be these adaptive leaders, to go out there and just, oh, I learned this in school and this is the way they said it. No, because that operational environment is different from a classroom environment. So we need these future sergeant majors to think. And that's what we're trying to get out of them, to be critical thinkers, both in the operational level and the strategic level, and think 2 levels above them versus, just my platoon or just whatever I have in front of me. So that's what we're teaching.
Okay, well, let me bring in Mark for this next question. So, Mark, what does this mean as far as, Guam being represented at the academy, by Sergeant Major Brantley, but also, the lessons that he can then bring back to the local installation of the Guard, and, what that's going to mean for our local leadership here and some of the NCOs that he will then train locally?
Yeah, great, Jason. So the first part of that, Guam has a reputation pretty much everywhere we've gone. We have this culture of hard work and team play that served us really well over the course of all of our deployments over the last 2 decades. And that reputation precedes us when we go places, of putting in our work, getting after it, and working together as a team, just like it's reflected in our culture. So what that means, it's just, Sergeant Major Brantley is just the latest in the long legacy of people who represent this island at our best. It's like showcasing what we're possible of, what we're capable of. And it's on the world-class level. We can compete, we can succeed, and it doesn't matter if we're surrounded by active duty or other branches. We're just as good or better as any other component out there. And that's what Ron's doing. That's what it means to the Guard for us to be represented out there.
All right.
And we're so proud of him for that. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess the second part of that is, what does he bring back? I can't overstate the importance of good NCO leadership. I spent about half of my career as an NCO and the other half as a commissioned officer. And I got to say that, as an officer, we'll sit around and plan all day, but when it comes down to action on the ground, there's going to have to be some changes, some decisions made, some, like what he said, adaptable leaders who can be fluid and think in these situations. And
that was going to be my next question, Sergeant Major, if I can direct this towards you, is, for those of us who are civilians and maybe don't understand the nuance of exactly like where job A starts and where job B ends, right? What is the difference between, a sergeant major and a officer as far as, the strategic and operational responsibilities?
So great question, Jason. So with the officer roles and the enlisted role, the NCO role, specifically, let's say the sergeant major. So the sergeant major, of course, is the epitome of the NCO Corps. Why? Is because that's the highest level you can attain. Within there, our duties as NCOs in general, right, is to coach, teach, and mentor. And not necessarily only coach, teach, and mentor other NCOs and other soldiers, but it's also to coach, teach, and mentor other officers too. With the levels of experience, usually you get to the sergeant major role, you've put in at least 16, 17, 18 years of service already, and you've built a wealth of experience, deployments, all of that you have under your belt. So what we do for officers are their sounding boards. A great command team with a command sergeant major and a commander, that is who sets the tone, who has the pulse of the unit, who goes out there and makes sure is the touch point for that commander to the troops. At the same time, when commanders go out there and make decisions, that NCO is there to go over the shoulder of the commander and say, sir, ma'am, I got your back, or sir, ma'am, let's look at this. It's always that great confidant to have next to you, especially at that E9 level. being, again, with that wealth of experience. Now, if you throw in education on top of that, it just makes you that much more powerful. And when I say powerful, not necessarily in reference to build, but just more powerful in that thinking ability, right? And to look beyond problems.
Well, have you run into any Guamanians either that are in the academy right now or are in the process of coming through the pipeline that you may instruct in the near future?
So it's funny you mentioned that, because I have a Guam flag, a huge Guam flag inside my office.
Of course.
As you walk the hallways, people look in, they see that, they come in and goes, "Hey, are you from Guam?" Or they shout out "half a day," and I go, "Hey, half a day." And then, so yes, there's many students that have roots back in Guam. We actually have 3 of our Guam Army National Guard soldiers currently at the academy right now attending. And of course I have to, be the instructor side of this, and, I cannot connect with them because, from that instructor to student relationship. But yes, and they're doing great. Everybody that comes around invites me out to barbecues. There's a big Guam community out here too. And the half-a-day spirit is full and well out here in El Paso.
Okay, yeah, you were just telling me when we were in commercial break that you've actually attended some local events that like have a lot of relevance to our culture. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, so a couple of, I want to say about a month and a half ago, the El Paso community came together and did their liberation. So it was just like a fiesta back home, the table in the middle, and then everybody else around. They had a live band playing all the local musics. It was fun just to get back together, and then just linking with people and just saying who we know and how they haven't been home in a while, and just getting together just brought that spirit of the culture of Guam and the half-a-day spirit back together. Especially for people that have been away for like 20 years, 30 years from the island, just getting together. So it's always a great, and nobody was turned away. That's the great thing about it. It's our culture, and that's the way we get together. So it was great.
Well, because of your association with the Guam Guard, you may carry the Great Seal of Guam, as your unit badge on your shoulder, but I know you've always got 671 all the way deep in your heart.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so Mark, I'd like to go to you for the next question, because what does this mean? We can be inspired by the Sergeant Major's story, and he said he came from very, very modest beginnings, and he had a really hard time coming up, but he's been able to succeed at the highest levels in the U.S. military and been able to make a career out of this. And you saw the pictures that we were showing earlier. He's been recognized and awarded and been able to actually continue the proud traditions of the Army. So what can this mean for people who are considering like the Guard right now that say, I'd like to serve my country, but I don't know what's in it for me?
Yeah, well, I got to plug the Guard, but it's also true for almost any kind of service that, this is a big enabler for a lot of us here in Guam, right? It gives us a leg up, it gives us a chance, and it shows us opportunities for things like education, traveling the world, learning new skill sets that they're a little bit harder for us to receive maybe otherwise with educational and employment opportunities. So, we look at folks like our role models like Sergeant Major Brantley, my mentors and his mentors, and it's a long chain of folks who have showed us along the way that it's possible. If you want to put in the work, if you want to choose to make the sacrifice and invest in service to the island and to the country, it will invest back in you, and all these great things are possible.
Absolutely. So, all right, Sergeant Major, before we let you and Mark go, of course, you are a Guam boy, doing your thing out in the States right now, at least for the time being. So I got to let you make sure that you get your shout outs in. So is there anybody back home that you'd like to say hey to, or, flash a smile to?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, the rock of my family, right? The rock that's held me together. I mean, being out here as a geographic bachelor, right? My 2 kids up in Las Vegas, my wife back home, is holding down the home front, making sacrifices, doing everything that needs to be done for the family back there. I mean, if it wasn't for her, for me to do what I've been doing out here, it would not be possible. So Ria, thank you very much. To my mom, my extended family out there, thank you very much for always helping the family out there. To my Guam Guard family out there, I'm out here, I'm still alive. Drop a call every now and then. And other than that, thanks to everybody that's been very supportive of this. Again, I couldn't have done this on my own, and there's a lot of people out there, and I just don't want to say, call out names, but it's everybody out there. And like the Guam Guard is, it's family. It's family, both current members, retirees. You don't get to 30 years just by luck. There's a lot of people that are out there that help me. So I really, to everybody out there.
All right. So Mark Scott on the right and Sergeant Major Ron Brantley on the left. And gentlemen, we thank the both of you for your continued service to our island and our nation. And please be safe with that, Ron. I can't wait for you to get back. Man.
Thanks again, Jason. Thanks for everybody. Thanks.
All right, and congratulations on your continued success, Mark. We appreciate it as always. You may want to go and get maybe a razor and maybe some shaving cream. I'm just saying, maybe in the next couple of days.
I'll consider it. Thanks.
Well, you could pass inspection with that. That's actually a look on you now that you're a civilian. So.
Yeah, as a civilian, I don't know who would inspect me, but right now it's the wife, and I'm doing okay. She said I'm starting to look like a real man, and I said thanks.
Oh, there you go. Well, hey, at least with your head, you still got the high and tight going. So, gents, thank you both, man. We wish you both continued success.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
All right,
Please
stay tuned. Hotspot returns right after these messages.